Now, for more on this, let's bring in Adam Vaughan, former Liberal MP and current principal with Navigator Communications firm in Toronto. Adam, Trudeau blamed his resignation on internal battles in the party, but isn't this more about his government's lack of popularity with Canadians?
Well, the internal battles were based on exactly that point. Nothing that Trudeau had tried, really since the last election, had boosted Liberal fortunes, and there's a great deal of concern, and some of it's focused on Chrystia Freeland, that a change is needed, not just at the top, but through the top ranks. And so it'll be interesting to see how Caucus, which is meeting on Wednesday, sorts through all of this. My guess is it's going to be a very interesting leadership campaign, and one that hopefully starts to present a program to the country that Canadians can get behind.
Trudeau said that he hoped removing himself from the equation would help temper polarization in our country. Do you think that's likely?
No. Politics generally across the English-speaking world has become extraordinarily polarized. And Pierre Poilievre, who's leading the polls, sees advantage in it and will continue to do it. But when you're hanging out with the likes of Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson and Donald Trump, the likelihood of the candidate who's got the lead in the polls to suddenly reverse course and start to bring Canadians together is next to nothing. The real challenge here is whether or not the Liberals can present a new leader with a new platform that pulls back some of the folks that have said they're not going to vote for the Liberals under Trudeau. Can they be returned to the fold? And if that happens, you've got a different election very quickly in this country.
Trudeau was very firm in the weeks leading up to this that he was going to stay on as leader. What do you think happened to change his mind over the holidays?
Well, Caucus has been patient with him. Caucus has been patiently optimistic that he could turn it around. I mean, when Justin Trudeau fights, Justin Trudeau wins. He's not somebody who loses elections or loses debates and doesn't take it easily. And everyone was hoping for sort of the warrior Trudeau, the fighter, to emerge, but that didn't happen. And when everything went sideways after the situation with Freeland, as they walked into the fall economic statement, at that point, I think even the most loyal Trudeau followers in Caucus finally said, that's it. A change is needed. A change must happen. And when the Atlantic Caucus, the Quebec Caucus, the Ontario Caucus, and voices from the West got together, there really was no option left for Trudeau but to resign.
Let's look forward and talk about this leadership race. We just went through some of the options. I noticed they're all strong Trudeau supporters, no dark horse candidates or people that we haven't seen before. Who do you think is going to run, and do you think someone connected to the Trudeau government has a good chance?
Well, there is a dark horse candidate coming out of Montreal. His name is Frank Baylis. He's a very dynamic business operator, entrepreneur, very successful in the medical technology field. He's been showing up at events in Ontario, so I'd keep an eye on him. But I think that one of the challenges is if you've been around the cabinet table, it's much like the situation with the Democrats face south of the border. Are you different enough? Have you departed enough from Trudeau's ways to really present an alternative? And I think Poilievre is going to be well positioned to go after them on that front. What I found interesting was today the party executive made a statement about how the convention will be structured, and that's critical. We'll be waiting, family's been asking, who do you think is going to win? They said, tell me what the rules are, and I'll tell you who the lead candidate is. It's going to be sort of one vote per member, but the votes are going to be sort of contained within the riding. So if you have 30,000 members in a riding in Mississauga, you get 100 votes. If you have 500 members in a riding in, say, downtown Toronto, you have 100 votes. So it's going to be weighted. That's going to mean a lot of work for candidates, especially candidates that aren't well known, and it's really going to test organizational structure and money. And so while Freeland and Carney are sort of taking the prohibitive 1-2 spots, someone like Donald LeBlanc, who has very strong relations in Caucus, could be the one to watch. And in fact, in many ways, if you're going to go up against Poilievre, you need someone who's quick on his feet and is actually funnier than Poilievre, but also smarter than Poilievre, and perhaps Dominic LeBlanc is the one to watch. So I would say those are the three early favorites, but campaigns are campaigns, elections are elections, and a lot can happen in a week in politics, as we just saw this week.
We could spend another 5 minutes talking about my last question to you, but the big question in many ways, how do you think this impacts the relationship with the incoming Trump administration?
Well, I don't think this is entirely unexpected. I don't think that Trump was going to take anybody seriously until after a new election, and when Canadians would finally have an opportunity to give a government of whatever stripe a strong mandate. I think that Trump profits during chaos. The fact that Trudeau is proroguing government means that there won't be plunged immediately into election in sort of put in caretaker mode with the civil service running things for the next sort of month and a half, 2 months. That's probably a good thing. It's one of the responsible things that I think Trudeau did today. There will be a government with political capacity in place for the next few weeks. After that, after Parliament returns, after it's been prorogued, it'll be a whole new ballgame, and we'll see what happens when that goes on. But Trudeau shuffled the cabinet and put people like McGuinty in and some others that have experience managing relationships with the United States. The premiers are still all in a solid position. Team Canada still exists, and I think with Trudeau not proposing to run in the next election, he's in a better position actually to sort of chair that process, to steer that process, has the experience on the files, and hopefully can protect Canadian industries, Canadian economy, the culture, our water, supply management. It's a long list of targets that Elon Musk and President Trump have been musing about in public lately. Hopefully that puts us in a good position to defend this country against what clearly is going to be a pretty hostile government in Washington.
That's former Liberal MP Adam Vaughan. Adam, thanks for joining us.
Have a good night.